Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts sends a message to Donald Trump. Wednesday, he was able to make a rare appearance on a talk show host a talk show appearing in front of multiple other current law professionals and lawyers, as well as constitutionalists, and sent a clear message to Donald Trump, including him reiterating the fact that judges are there to fact check and correct wrongdoing of the executive branch. Let's get into this new video, or this, I guess it's kind of new. Let's get into this kind of sort of new video by NBC News. We've got to wait, ladies and gentlemen, a few really quickly to get the video loaded.
Of the Immigration Integrity, Security, and Enforcement Subcommittee. Joining us now, Democratic Congresswoman Jayapal of Washington State. She's a member of the Judiciary Committee and ranking member of the Immigration Integrity, Security, and Enforcement Subcommittee. Congresswoman, thank you so much for taking the time. What's your reaction to this judge's decision saying the Trump administration cannot send migrants from several countries to Libya, and his warning against looking for loopholes to try to get around his order?
Well, I think it was an important decision because it was exactly a loophole that the Trump administration was trying to exploit to say we can send them to Libya under these circumstances. And this judge said, no, you cannot deport immigrants to third countries without due process. And I think that this is the key thing here. Libya in particular, if you think about this, we've obviously seen it with El Salvador and CICOT, a notoriously horrific prison in El Salvador where people were being sent illegally. But now with Libya, this is a country where we don't even have an embassy there. There is kidnapping. There is a do not travel advisory because of kidnapping, because of wars between different parties. And the prison that they were planning to send people to is, again, has been described as a hellscape. That is an actual quote. And there's rampant, widespread allegations of, or actually cases of sexual abuse of prisoners, both adult and children. And so I think this is a very clear sign, once again, to the Trump administration that you cannot deport people, whether it's to Libya, whether it's to El Salvador, without going through the process and making sure that people have due process. And that's what they're going to have to do. They can't just stick people on planes and find another terrible place to deport people to.
There were developments in the case involving some of these migrants who were deported to El Salvador that you were just speaking of. We've heard that this administration, President Trump, other members of his administration, including Kristi Noem and the White House press secretary, talking about how El Salvador has control over whether those migrants could be returned because it's no longer in U.S. custody. They're not in U.S. custody. The president's own words, though, were referenced in court yesterday with Judge James Boasberg, pointing to his interview with ABC when he said that he could simply call El Salvador's president and order the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Listen.
The order from the Supreme Court stands, sir.
Into our country illegally.
You could get him back. There's a phone on this desk.
I could.
You could pick it up, and with all the power of the presidency, you could call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
And if he were the gentleman that you say he is, I would do that.
Could the president end up being his own worst enemy when it comes to this clash with the courts over immigration?
Yes, I think so. And I think it's laughable for him to say he can't get Kilmar Abrego Garcia back. He is the one that sent him there. We paid El Salvador millions of taxpayer dollars to jail these people who have been sent without any due process. And the reality is that, you know, this was a 9-0 Supreme Court ruling saying that Donald Trump had to facilitate the return of Mr. Abrego Garcia. The fact that he hasn't, I think, should concern every American. The fact that you have a president of the United States who is ignoring a Supreme Court unanimous decision that he has to facilitate the return of Mr. Abrego Garcia, it should disturb every single person, because if he can do that to him, he can do that to you. And I think that is what we're seeing, is the overreach on immigration. What Donald Trump promised when he was campaigning is he was somehow going to get rid of the worst, not pick up legal permanent residents, DACA recipients, even U.S. citizens and children who are in the middle of cancer treatments, and deport them. That is absolutely not what the American people want. They want him to follow the Supreme Court. They want him to follow the judges. They want due process. They want to make sure that we are not deporting all these people who have simply been living here many times with legal status.
Speaking of the Supreme Court, the Chief Supreme Court Justice, John Roberts, spoke out yesterday about the importance of an independent judiciary. Take a listen.
In our Constitution, judges and the judiciary is a co-equal branch of government, separate from the others, with the authority to interpret the Constitution as law. Its job is to obviously decide cases, but in the course of that, check the excesses of Congress or of the executive, and that does require a degree of independence.
Congresswoman, do you take that as a veiled message for the president?
I think it's a pretty clear message, and it's rare for the Supreme Court justice to do this, for the Chief Justice to do this. But he is clearly sending a message because of the threats that Donald Trump himself and his cabinet members have been sending out, right-wing conservatives who have been putting it out on Fox News, that you can just impeach a judge if you don't agree with the decision. That is not what impeachment is. There are very specific standards, obviously, for impeachment, but that is not one of them, just not agreeing. But that is what, Anna, you see with all of these immigration actions that the administration is taking. It comes down to, do you agree with him or not? That's why all these students are getting picked up, just because they don't agree with him. So it was very important what Chief Justice Roberts said.
Congresswoman Jayapal, thank you so much for taking the time with us. We appreciate it.
I appreciate the Congresswoman from I appreciate the Congresswoman for taking the time to explain that, and I'm very proud and happy that Chief Justice John Roberts spoke out and again rebuked Trump and reiterated that federal immigration judges do in fact have power to correct Trump according to the Constitution, which is the rightful thing to do, considering now, but nevertheless, Donald Trump is now jeopardizing him, rightfully, and jeopardizing himself, rightfully, and digging himself into a deeper hole where we want him to go. At least the ones that follow the Constitution and believe in the rule of law. He will be held accountable regardless. Unless the Supreme, it is not a constitutional act to, or even a constitutional duty to send people to El Salvador and pay that government to wrongfully imprison and torture people in accordance to the Constitution, nor were the funds appropriated nor approved by Congress to do so. So I hope that Judge Sini holds him in criminal contempt and goes after everyone in his administration, including Donald Trump himself. That is going to do it for today's legal breaking analysis reporting, ladies and gentlemen. If you did enjoy this legal breaking analysis reporting, please consider firstly liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. Secondly, if you want to make sure you're always up to date on all the things legal breaking reporting wise on the side of politics, please consider hitting the bell icon as well as the all notifications options. The bell icon is located right next to the subscribe button down below the screen here on the right hand side. Thirdly, if you also want to make sure you're always up to date on all the things legal breaking reporting wise on the side of politics, please also follow me on my social medias down below. I'm on Instagram, Snapchat, Threads, as well as TikTok. Fourthly, ladies and gentlemen, please help me reach and achieve the goal of 160 plus subscribers. The reason why I'm saying 160 plus subscribers is because right after we reach and achieve the goal of 160 subscribers, we have more subscribers to reach and achieve right after we reach and achieve the goal of 160 subscribers. Fifthly and lastly, ladies and gentlemen, fifthly and last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, please stay safe, please stay positive, even though I know it's hard for you guys at times to stay positive, or a majority of you anyway. It's even hard for me at times, honestly, to stay positive during these unfortunate induced darkness illegal times caused by the illegal, unconstitutional, criminal Trump administration and Trump regime. And know that justice will prevail on the correct side of the law, despite Donald Trump and his illegal, unconstitutional regime and administration's unconstitutional, illegal executive orders, actions, and behaviors. And I will talk to you guys in the next reporting.